Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Yes, I did steal an intro from a different YouTuber. Sue me. I don't know how to do intros clearly, but House of the Dragon, a show that I just watched. That probably everybody was like super apprehensive about, like thinking about Game of Thrones and the horrific ending that had, and with House of Dragon coming out, a lot of people were very skeptical, but they really went all out with this one. They pulled out all the bells and whistles, and let me just say how refreshing it is to watch something that looks good. Like, holy god damn, this show looks incredible. Like, just looking at like some of the visuals and shot, I mean, like some of it you can see like some of the artificial, some of the artificial facing and aliasing, if that's even a correct term to be able to be used in like film. Like, might be mixing up my film and my video game terminology, but good god, this show is gorgeous, from the set designs to the costumes. Even the actors are gorgeous, even with all the HD cameras shining on people's faces so you can see their pores and all their imperfections. Don't look at my face, by the way. I know that's the only thing in this video to look about, but, hopefully nothing bad happens to it, other than it just existing in its natural state. But enough about my face, those weird tangent. I'm sure there's no foreshadowing here whatsoever. Anyways, so the show starts off with the first episode called The Heirs of the Dragon. Now, House of the Dragon is a prequel to Game of Thrones. So you don't actually need to watch Game of Thrones to actually know anything about it, which is great, because that's me. Like, I had no fucking idea what Game of Thrones is about, and I feel like knowing less about like Game of Thrones actually helps the show, because you have like, I had like some spoilers about like the mom. By the way, this is gonna be full spoilers, so that should be ahead. I mean, you're gonna see the time code on this video, and the fact that you're gonna look at this and be like, oh, that's fine, that long video breaking it down. I'm sure he does not go into spoilers in that entire video, but no, I do. Alright, so yeah, it's 172 years before Daenerys Targaryen. I completely missed that the first time around. I don't know why. I was looking at the screen, but I wasn't looking at the same time, because I'm weird like that. But not knowing the Game of Thrones really does help this, because good god, like the mom, knowing that when I saw her, I was like, okay, yeah, she's gonna die. Like, I know that, because I know that has to happen for certain events in the story. But that being said, even if you do know it, it might lose some of the surprises and stuff. But, you're not going to lose that much enjoyment. And I feel like that would probably be the same for people that read the books. So people that read the books are not gonna be 100% disappointed in this show, but that would be, I wouldn't necessarily know, and I also wouldn't necessarily know if it's a faithful adaptation. Not that that's something I necessarily care about when it comes to the whole adaptation argument. To me, it's always like, well, if the book writes something and it's cringe and stupid, like a good example is the mom constantly trying to get an heir to the throne. I forgot her name. I feel awful. But the mom trying to constantly get like an heir to the throne, only to be like, okay, after this next baby, I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm retiring, and then she dies. It's literally the cliche of like, oh, I'm retiring. So. Hopefully she doesn't die. Hopefully nothing bad happens there, but yeah. she dies giving birth to the baby, and it also so happens to be the only one that actually survives, or at least that seemed to be the case. Because now I'm getting mixed reports. Because like I said, I don't really know Game of Thrones. I assumed that the baby would survive because I could have swore Daenerys had like a brother or something in the show, but I'm not 100% sure. But there's like mixed reports. The king has said at least like twice that his wife and son has died. So it appears, and well, if I'm looking at the timeline, it says 172 years. That explains it. See, now I'm pacing it together. I probably should have paced it together before I started reviewing this thing. But like I said, I'm trying a new style, new unscripted style. So I am, it's just gonna be messing up all over the place. But it is what it is. But good God, I love the sets in the show, like little carts and stuff. It has such a clean and polished look, like unlike Game of Thrones previously, this show makes everything look so pristine and almost otherworldly, which I feel like aids to it, because if I am guessing correctly in the way the story goes, this is all gonna fall apart. So I feel like it's a good contrast. But good God, they love showing off their sets, and I love looking at them, all the backing shots and all the backing actors. It really seems like they wanted the showrunners wanted to be like listen, it's okay, we know how Game of Thrones ended, it's fine, we're back with a bang, it's gonna be great. But ultimately, it is pretty great. Despite some of the criticisms and contrivances, like still unconfirmed reports on the heir of the son. I'm still a little confused by that, and that might be explained more by episode 2. So I might make commendance to this original video that I'm making, to my original stances and stuff. But so yeah, this is just my raw thoughts. But interesting angle to go with the women angle in this one. Women being underappreciated. It needs to be a man to be on the throne, not a woman. A woman's place. Daenerys has a conversation with her mother where she says she would much rather fight on the battlefield than fight, with childbirth as the mother. That's what the mother says is her battlefield. I said Daenerys. I originally thought it was Daenerys, but apparently it's not. It's Rhaenyra Targaryen, I believe is how you say it. So I kept calling her Daenerys. It was very stupid of me, but I couldn't help it. I saw the dragon and everything, and I just instantly thought about this, but no. I do believe, we look at the age. Yeah, it is definitely not her. As I am assuming people abide by the natural laws of biology in the show, in the sense that they do age normally, and by normally, I say normally, but a lot of these characters in these shows do not look like they're 40, like some of the old men characters, because real historical precedent, people died when they were 30 or 40. So, some fantastical leeways in there, but obviously this universe has access to a lot of interesting technologies, magic, and that sort of systems and stuff to keep everybody all healthy, while also being very primitive. We see some primitive medicines and healing, when the diagnosis about what's happening with the sire, and what his ailments are, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's it's archaic would be the correct way to say it. Primitive implies like something negative. They were doing the best, I would say, to their knowledge. Like the doctors eventually deciding to, because they eventually made the assumption that the mom and the kid was going to die, so they want to remove the baby so that the baby might have a chance to live while the mother unfortunately perishes. So they made sure to make an incision. One problem that I have with that, I have a lot of problems with the mother aspect of the show now that I think about it upon rethinking. But one thing that is like strange to me is like they knew she was gonna die from blood loss after like cutting it open. I suppose you could make an argument that might have thought there might be like a slim chance she might survive, but even then it's like, yeah, she's probably not gonna make it, so why cut her open while she's like alive? Why not just, you know, kill her beforehand and then cut out the baby? It seems strange to essentially have her suffer such a gruesome death. But, you know, it's a great shot, it's a great visual, and that's probably why they did it. And I don't want to say that to this show. There's so many other shows that I can levy that criticism at to a lot more harsher. That's not what I'm going to do too much to this show, because that definitely is a moment of that happening, but overall, I would say the show is really good, and it was refreshing to watch a good show, especially after watching shit like Rick and Morty, or hell, even going back to back from Game of Thrones to this. You know, I'm sure a lot of people would be satisfied. Yet, I haven't been doing a lot of plot breakdowns. I've just been sort of rambling, going through the scenes willy-nilly. I'm sorry, that's gonna happen a lot. But yeah, we meet an interesting character, the king's brother, and I believe his name is... No, I've already forgotten his name, but yeah, I know Damien. It's Damien Targaryen. He's a bit of a rough maker. He's only got this position, assumedly, because of his brother, and they only got their position because of their control of the dragons. Later on, the king declares that their control is a lot more frailer. The only reason people assume their control is because they think they can control the dragons, where in actuality he basically almost like admits that that's not the case. Like, anyone can really do it, and that's a farce. Which, you know, that changes the lore, I do believe, to an extent, and that might have like put like theories and stuff, assuming you didn't read the books or anything, because I don't know how all of that material ties into it, but, you know, I would assume the Targaryens having this supernatural ability to control dragons, only to be revealed that no, that's not the case. They just were fucking insane and went to tame dragons, and people now think they have this supernatural ability over them. But yeah. Good God, I'm looking at the scenes. That's why I'm looking at this direction. I'm not trying to be informal or rude with anything with you. I know you're there. I see. Yeah. And you're still recording, which is what I just checked, by the way. If there was an abrupt cut, because my fucking camera has no light to indicate that it's recording, which is, oh, that's fun. So, you know, if this is an audio format, I was checking my camera, by the way, to see if it was recording. It was, but good golly, I wouldn't have known it otherwise unless I checked. I really wish there was a way to like hook it up to see if it's recording. But in any case, enough about me. Back to the show. I hate the Iron Throne, by the way. It's so stupid to me, but, you know, whatever. It's cool looking, and I understand that, but yeah, it looks like the biggest, like, safety hazard ever. It's super concerning. It looks like you can get hurt so much quickly at so much time, and well, that was perfectly timed. it's super concerning. Just that throne, it makes it super uncomfortable. Like at any moment you can just get hurt. But in any case, regardless of the throne's design, I don't know if that's 100% perfectly imported from George R. R. Martin's vision or something. Not that I care too much about adaptation. I think it would be stupid either which way, but alright, it's their iconography. It's something that they care about very much deeply. But as I was saying, Daemon Targaryen, he's an interesting character in the sense that he's very much, it seems very much that he got his position because of bloodlines. He's very much reckless. He very much wishes to like battle and danger. He is very much the young bull, full of himself, arrogant. He's now part of the City Watch by his brother's order, where he was formerly, he's formerly in a different position, and he essentially was demoted by his counselors, like wishes and stuff, who was the master of coin, as they call him, you know, the big headshot accountant. Yeah, that doesn't sound as cool as the master of coin, but you know, that's essentially what it is. So he wasted all his money on like wine and women and stuff. So he's that type of character, you know. He comes across as he is very interesting. He has like a very interesting presence to him, but everything he does is super unlikable. Yet, yeah, you can't help but like him, and that's probably due to the actor. It's the actor from, it's the fucking actor from Morbius. Why is that the only thing I know him from? He's like the other vampire in that movie. God, that movie was so stupid. Whatever. Back to good things. Thank Christ. But he essentially takes the entire City Watch, and he takes it upon himself to remove the unwelcome, which, you know, the thieves, the rapists, the murderers, basically all the crime lords. He's taken upon himself to create his legion. These people that have taken upon themselves to not go through the traditional justice system that they have established, but rather more almost mob-based justice entirely, where they would go and chop off people's hands that were like stealers, rapists, having other body parts and appendages taken off, and it's a very gruesome and effective scene. But he's gathering these people, these groups. He's talking with them. He's like, yo, I'm gonna break this down like layman terms to be super like urban, okay? So it's a lot more elegant than the way I'm putting it, but it's like, yo, we the same. We come from the hood, you know. We suffering. We had bad times, but you know, I took you out, raised you, made you something. So he has befriended ironically the unwelcome, the people that feel underappreciated, you know, the easily radicalized types of individuals that he has gotten, the formerly known as scum, that he has now used to hurt other scum. So that's very ironic, and especially someone from his high mighty stature to come down to these people's level. And good God, like I said, they do such a stellar job of making him look like an ass, that they gave him like this awful like outfits. When he's later on, he's like doing like jousting and stuff, he has also this very ridiculous outfit on. His armor and stuff looks, I don't know if it's intentional. God, I hope it is. It would be very bad if I was like, I'm praising it. It's like, yeah, it looks awful because that's like the point. It's supposed to look bad. It's supposed to look full of himself, and then the creators are like, yeah, it's supposed to look bad. But yeah, it looks absolutely ridiculous, and it's one of the outfits that look very plasticky, which might add to that effect as well. The set design and stuff, when it's so beautiful, it's like every little flaw almost sticks out, which is why I focus on that a lot more than, which I feel like it's probably the reason why a lot of people focus on flaws in general in shows and stuff, is because we look for anything that isn't good as every imperfection, and then we rank it by everything that isn't, and we put it by ratio, or at least that's how I do it. I'm not saying that's the correct way to do it. I'm just saying that's a way to do it. Also, fuck, my mic hasn't been recording, so I just had this stupid headphones on my head for no reason. Fun. So this is definitely hopefully going to be on a video format, because Christ, it is not going to work on the audio format, but oh well. But as, like I said, some of the CGI and stuff, and some of the props stick out, it sticks out more than it would otherwise. But overall, it is really good. The set design and stuff, it is wonderful, and the cast and everything. I think they've been cast really well. Great actors that they've gotten to play here as well, and everybody given top-notch performance. But as I said, so basically this whole episode is centered around the heir. And Daemon Targaryen definitely wants his brother's throne. He and some of the other counselors, advisors, have taken note of this, and they have very much now want to make peace with the king, to let them know that, yeah, it's very obvious that your brother, he wants your throne. And Daemon, being Daemon, goes on. Later we go to, one of these jousting events, as one does, in this day and age. There wasn't a lot to do back then, so, jousting is one of the many pastimes, and good God, is it interesting. It almost reminds me in Wild West, and how the traditional system, after they're done jousting and they're like, okay, I hate you, you have dishonored me, I wish to engage in combat. And good God, did they make this show a lot more, or I'm not exactly 100% sure about Game of Thrones, but I feel like it's gorier. There's a lot of blood splatter and stuff. But Daemon is a very attractive person in this universe, considered by other people as well. I would consider him unconventionally attractive. And to me, it's it's just not doing it for me. But when he's busy in the brothel, as one does, he has all these onlookers and stuff. So he's very much to people in underprivileged parts of King's Landing. He's very much considered almost a hero. They're anti-hero. They're Joker that they're willing to follow. Okay, and how long do you think it was gonna be until I make that reference? Why did I need to? I don't know. It's cool, right? Because I mentioned the other thing that makes me a good critic, right? Because I'm comparing things comparatively. But he is very unhappy about his position. He feels very much that he's looked down upon, and he isn't given the respect he deserves because very much of his lifestyle. So when we get to the actual jousting event, there's this one guy, this fucking Chad. Okay, he's beaten everybody, and he's got this very like traditional looking armor that's really nice to look at, by the way. You got this great like fantasy designs all over the place, and then you just got like this traditional armor, which is really nice to see. And you see this guy, and he very clearly knows what he's doing. It looks like a man with experience, especially, you know, like I said, and that's probably a good idea why they gave him like traditional like armor, because he very much as a result of it looks very professional. He looks like he knows what he's doing. So he goes through these jousting against these two people. He wins. It's a big hurrah, hooray. Eventually, it comes to the point where Damien must fight against him. And he does the joust. And then Damien gets hit. He doesn't instantly win. And this insults his ego. So when he goes off to joust him again, he just full on just not trips his horse, and I felt really bad for the poor horse. That did not look good for it. I wonder how they filmed that. I'm sure no animals were hurt, probably. But you know. I didn't see that in the credits, but then again, who the hell sticks around for credits? It's credits, right? Not that that's a big issue. I probably would hold that anywhere against the horse. I just felt bad for the horse, okay? In any case. And so, as one does when jousting, he goes back up and he tries again. And this is the part I was probably the most confused on, because I thought, if you go down when jousting, you're supposed to be out, right? You lose. But then again, I guess he wasn't technically out because it was a foul. You know, he didn't joust properly. But yeah, he jousts again. Jousts. He jousts against Damien again. And I fucking love that his name is Damien. Can you tell that? Anyway. And he gets his ass handed to him. He like fucking slides on the rail. And it is very funny. And it's very karma poetic. It is very, very fun to see. But yeah, obviously his honor is offended, so he's like, okay, now I'm going to fight you. He comes out with this like black armor. His horse has like this black like armor as well. It's all dragon themed, and it looks awful. His like wings look like they're stitched on. He looks very, very silly and full of himself. Even in the middle of the match where he's fighting against the guy, and this Chad, by the way, he uses a fucking flail. He ain't using a sword, okay? And he fucking whoops his ass with the flail. But yeah, he looks away and he's like, he thought he won in their like second duel. And he goes to boast to the audience, which I thought was strange as well, but I'm not gonna say that that's not in character. I assume you would thought that guy would just stay down and yield, or he would go and then finish him. I can very much believe that he would be that egocentric. But yeah, the other guy, he just comes out and just fucking just knocks the shit out of him, and it is very funny. I loved it very much. The absolute legend. But yeah, he eventually wins, and instead of killing him, he decides to spare him. So you know, that's lucky for him. But you know, like I said, the man's a fucking Chad. Like he's not even in it for like the blood or kill him. Not that being said, if he did kill him, that would probably cause like huge problems. So that was probably the best outcome overall. But you can see the way that he carries himself. He's not very egotistical, flamboyant, or like someone that's like searching to be praised or look at me how cool I am. He's just like a straight ass man that's like, I'm here to do my job, thank you very much, and I am going to do that with my skills and know-how that I've acquired over the years. But yeah, and good God, the fighting scenes of this is really gory, which, you know, does add to a lot of visceral effect. This one princess lady, there's something not right with her. She's like busy poking her nails and stuff, and it is all like getting bloody and stuff. So there's, like I said, I'm not sure what's going on there now as of reviewing this episode, because I have yet to see what happens next time. It's interesting. I'm trying to do this like plot breakdown and stuff. I'm literally running into that Futurama joke where it's like, well, the show is 1 hour long. I thought it would take me 1 hour to break it down, but no, it really didn't. Like I covered almost anything. After the jousting duel is done and over, Damien goes to a brothel again, as one does, and well, I feel like before we reach that point, I feel like I need to go back. We need to go back to when I was talking about the mother. I quickly summed up the mother's plotline, but yeah, that was happening all in between in this episode. But the king is distraught over his wife being dead and his son as well, allegedly. Okay, I say allegedly, but that's probably true. I'm just gonna go with the show's word on that one. But he's absolutely distraught, and when he comes to the table, all everybody wants to talk about at the table is who's going to be the next heir, who's going to take up the throne. That's all that people care about. It's all that people have been discussing, and eventually, you know, he just gets more and more annoyed as the conversation goes on. He just breaks down. He's like, just yells that his wife and son is dead, and it's great. It's a great scene. I absolutely loved it, and I gotta say, acting is goddamn top notch. And it is really nice to see just like I said, a show with this much high quality. I know I sound surprised and like a broken record, but it truly is. Because it's been a while, man. Like, god damn, it's been so long to watch something with like any little bit of quality. It's really refreshing. But yeah, basically the king is having trouble with maintaining formality with what's going on right now in his life, where everything is not going particularly well. Okay. He's at the funeral, and customs require the dragon to go and burn the corpse. But yeah, the girl Renea, I think is her name. I'm just gonna call her Ray. Oh God, not that Ray. She goes and basically asks the dragon to do the burning of the corpse, because the king is not having a good time. Damien at the funeral goes towards her and tells her that the king needs her, and she declares that she will never be a son. So she feels very undervalued in her position, naturally, being told that she's essentially not very worthwhile, you know, because of society's, you know, expectations back then. but eventually, as they go along, she learns that she is a lot more. She means a lot more to the dad than initially realized. Supposedly, only after the fact that his son is dead, and now Damien stands a very good chance of taking upon the throne. Only now is she acquainted the honor of becoming the next heir. And of course, there's controversy about her being a woman, about there being a queen on the Iron Throne. But I assume that will carry over into the next episode, and we'll see more discussion about that. But yeah, Damien goes to a brothel again, as I said, and he's not particularly happy. He's not happy about how he's treated, their position, so he wishes to engage in some camaraderie among his fellow underprivileges, the people who have suffered the most in the society. And he basically makes a speech, and it's super unpoetic. Everybody in the brothel is doing their thing, and this one drunken guy just basically has to be like, everybody shut up, okay? Our goddamn prince wants to speak. And it's so unceremonious, and it just perfectly, it's so perfect, because it perfectly, it's a perfect example of like, you get what you give. Like, he wants to gather like these people, but they very much are not a part of like high society. They very much are just following him for gain as well. Like they get something out of it a lot, because he essentially rented out the brothel for him and his friends, as well as all the alcohol and stuff for them as well. So they very much are just in it because they can get something, and that's pretty much his kingship. But we cut back to before I'll finish that plot. And we're not exactly cutting. I'm cutting in between them. I'm cutting it way incorrectly. But we cut to the king, and he's in his chambers alone, watching over his like model of the entire kingdom. And the other lady that I was talking about with the nails earlier. I can't remember. I'm so terrible with names. But it's the brown-haired one. That is the daughter, I do believe, of the master of coin. It appears to be the case. She goes to him, and she says something that is very, very poignant, where it's like everybody acted very strange around her when she lost someone. I can't remember. I really wish I could remember. I really wish my memory isn't bad, but this is just the plot synopsis. This is just thoughts. Okay, so it's like a very much first impression raw thing, but I remember now. And she said, when her mother died, everyone only spoke to her in riddles, and all she ever wanted was for somebody to say that they were sorry, and that. And she basically says, "I'm very sorry, Your Grace," to the king. And again, that just airs almost the theme of this episode, is despite the tragedy, the trauma that everyone is going through, formality must be kept up. But yes, Damien utters the unspeakable. He says that the son was basically dead on arrival, essentially. He basically said he was dead on arrival, which I think confirms it, that the son is dead. That and well, if you look back at the scenes closely and you look at the priest's facial expressions, that yeah, he very much sees that the son, yeah, the kid ain't doing too well. So yeah, the kid is dead. So that puts that wrap up to it. She did die before retiring, and that child was for nothing, which also means them cutting her open, you know, was also for nothing. But then again, it also seemed like she was going to die regardless. But if there was a question in anybody's mind, at this point, it is completely confirmed that yes, the child is dead. And after what Damien has said, he essentially goes up to his brother, and now it's super formal. It's like he's like, you will refer to me as your grace. And it's like he says he's essentially celebrating his own rise to power and selling with whores and lick spitters, something like that. But it's a very good line. And he basically says how he threw him away, took him out of the veil, and it's like he asked to be by your hand. It's like, and he asked why would he throw him out? It's like he says because, and he specifically says it's because he is his brother, which is pretty interesting. So there is very much Damien very much feels like he's underappreciated, undervalued, and he's been cast out and betrayed. Ignore the clicky noises and stuff. I'm playing with pens and stuff. It's the ADD, which is probably not helping with the review and stuff, which is probably why I don't remember stuff. But yes, after this conversation, he is essentially exiled, and he takes a dragon that looks really cool. It's funny, his armor and shit looks awful, but the actual dragon looks incredible. Not necessarily from a technical aspect, from like the CGI and stuff, but just the design of it looks really good. And he is exiled from the kingdom. He is banished into the void, and with that, minusing all the minor nuances, the king has cut himself again on his iron throne, which again, it seems like a very impractical throne, not gonna lie. But to cap off the episode, he gives a speech to his daughter Rhea, and he basically asks, when you look at dragons, what do you see? And she says essentially something to the effect, she sees us, but we're just normal people. And that just airs home. You see, there's a very particular theme they have with this episode. That just airs home the theme of like, we might have this appearance of being super different and strong, but we are just normal and we are just people. And it's like, it's the idea that we control a dragon is an illusion. And it's like, they're a power that men should not trifle with. And yeah, that's essentially the entire theme of the story, is like to keep up with formality despite you wanting to deal with normal human circumstances, dealing with grief, dealing with loss, dealing with family ties, dealing with grief. I have no idea where to cut off, because apparently there's a record limit that I was unaware of, and I've been recording for long, which means I basically need to end this episode. But basically the theming is that despite the fact that they are these people in these high royal positions, they are still humans with human flaws, and they are still acting upon it. And now the kingdom has seen it, and now all they have to do is try and hide it, even to the point of exiling their brothers and family. And all they want, essentially, well, Damien wants, is essentially recognition. Whether that's deserved or earned is, well, it's to be said and to be seen, right? Once we learn more about him. But the episode ends with Rhea being crowned as the heir, and we get a lot of a lot of notable names. Like for one, the Stark. That's the one I know the most, and I was like, ooh, I know that name in the show. That's interesting. But that theme, it's pretty interesting, and now that I watch this back and I see what they were trying to do, we could technologize it. Yeah, they kind of hit the nail on the head with this one. They kind of constantly do it over and over again, but it's a very interesting framing device, and I think it's a very interesting theme, and it's one you can only really tell, not necessarily in this type of story, but like in a story of like royalty, kingdom wise, and I think it's pretty interesting, and I can only imagine that it will only continue, and I can only imagine that it will be a main source for conflict is trying to keep up royal faces and prestige while also trying to deal with your own mental shit, which is almost very relatable in a way. Like, if you think about it in like a real world application, would be like, while you're dealing with all your mental issues and shit, you have to like put on a smile and pretend that everything is fine. I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting my own ideas onto it to relate to it more. But overall, I would say, if I had to like rate this episode, I would say costume designs, set designs, it's phenomenal. The acting, phenomenal. Plotline, mostly alright. Great theme, and they really made sure to they really crafted this episode around it. Without it, it wasn't necessarily super plot focused. We set up a lot of characters, and we set up a lot on the theme, and the plot was just sort of this small niche plot to just sort of film everything around that. And I can appreciate that, to be honest. I can appreciate just a more simpler plot with a much more stronger emphasis on characters and themes. And let me just say, I am hyped, and I can definitely do with more of this. And that's pretty much all I have to say. This is super rambly, super incoherent, and I did this super poorly. I hope you enjoyed this thing. Thank you for watching. Do the YouTube things. And I will see you when I see you.